If you knew that it only took you 50 times of failing for you to be successful, the question I have for you is how fast would you do those 50 failures? And that thought process, that question, I'm gonna drop my expo marker here. That question that I asked you is the philosophy of success. Because really how success works is the more that you fail, the more that you are able to discover some patterns. And the more patterns that you see, the more that you're going to develop pattern recognition and understand what's going on when you're going through stuff. And excuse the mess and the setup today. I'm in the process of moving right now. And my house is a mess, but I wanted to record this video anyways for you guys. Value over perfection. So, in this channel, I brainwash you guys to be successful, and the concept for today is fail faster. This concept of how many failures you have to take to be successful, really at the end of the day, is how it all works. And so think of it like you have a graph here. You have failure on the x-axis, and then you have, let's see if I can write this. God gifted me with a lot of things, and handwriting is definitely not one of those things. But you want to view it as the more that you fail, the more success that you will have. That's why you see, if you guys study me at all online, you'll see that I fail a lot pretty publicly, and I just don't really give a shit. You'll see a lot of these people that like to make everything look all perfect all the time, and they don't want people to see them fail. But I don't mind keeping my failures public. I don't mind having videos that I upload that get a couple hundred views, even though I make multiple millions of dollars a year. It's kind of a weird concept, but the thing when people are giving out actionable advice on how to be successful gets, I'll find videos out of billionaires where they talk about how to get rich and it has like 1,000 views. And then I see some douchebag driving a Lamborghini that bought a Lamborghini and had to finance it and can barely make payments, got like 10 million views. It's a weird world that we live in. But you want to view failure as the metric to how successful you can be. And how it usually works is usually, to be honest, it's a very slow growth at first. For the longest time, you're kind of making all these failures, and you don't really see like an actual image of success. And there is a way to accelerate this. I will illustrate that here in a second. If you view it financially, it's definitely going to look like this. But the more that you fail, it starts to kind of have a hockey stick curve here. And this is the zone, what we'll call, of, let's say, like this area over here, which I think you guys are kind of getting the clue here, is what I consider mastery. So this is when you see people do things that just it looks so effortless. You'll see really successful people, they do things in such a way where it seems like so low effort, and it seems like anybody can do it. And that's why they're so successful. Is because they're so good at these things that they just look like it looks simple. It looks easy. It's inviting. It's like I want to do that because they're just so masterful with the things that they do. That's how I am with YouTube. When it comes to YouTube, I can pick apart a part of YouTube strategy so quickly. No, I'm not gonna say I'm just Mr. Beast level quality of like YouTube, but I have been able to make multiple millions of dollars with YouTube, and it's just because I've done a lot of reps. I've made thousands of videos over the years across all of these different channels, and like after doing all these reps, I've just failed a lot. And so I've had a lot of time to develop different patterns. I've been able to learn all of these patterns, and through the learning of all these patterns, I've been able to become somebody that has a strong skill set of YouTube. I understand how hooks work. I understand how packaging works. I understand, the mindset and the what the viewer is thinking of and the viewer psychology. And it's just because I've done a lot of reps. I've done a lot of reps with my own channels, with my own videos, but then I've also just analyzed uh, thousands, tens of thousands of other videos from all the students that I've had and helping them be successful. And just over time, as you do it a lot, you just start to become somebody who is masterful of whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so the faster that you fail, the sooner that you'll be successful. And so let's illustrate a point here about mastery. This has been a big kick that I've been on lately, about why is it that some people just have mega success. And it's because there are essentially 4 levels of mastery. And when you understand these 4 levels of mastery, you will be able to become masterful and effortless of whatever it is that you do. And so when you understand this, you kind of are able to get out of this paradigm of sucking at things, and you will be able to get better at things a lot quicker, because there's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which we'll come back to the four levels of mastery in a second. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is essentially this concept where our ego goes to die. And so how it works, another graph here, we got lots of graphs, and so we have this thing down here at the bottom, which is competence, and then we have confidence. So we have this, again, I was blessed with a lot of things like looks and beauty and beautiful hair and stuff, but handwriting is definitely not one of those things. So on the x-axis we have competence, and on the y scale we have confidence. So competence being that, like, your ability of doing something, like your skill set, your actual knowledge on the subject matter, and your ability to actually execute it. And the next thing is your your confidence level, so like how confident you feel. And so people with low competence, actually, they have the highest level of confidence. There's somebody that, like, they think that they're the most capable of doing things, and we call this right here, this little point right here that they get to, the peak of Mount Stupid. And when you're at this stage of peak of Mount Stupid, you just think that you're like the shit. You think that what you do is cool as shit, and like you think no one can top you. This is when your ego is at, like, ultimately an all-time high. You have a crazy ego, and you know this because you actually don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you think that you know all these things. And you see this all the time. People always talk about, like, politics, the news, like all these things. They act like they know it all, and in reality most people don't actually know anything. And so what happens is, when you hit to a certain level of competence, and this happens in all things, your confidence actually just takes a deep dive. It plummets. And most people don't like this, and so what happens is, a lot of their people's egos, it keeps them safe, and it's easier to believe that they know everything when they, in reality, they don't. And so they'd rather kind of stay here because it feels the best, it feels good, but in reality you're stupid as shit. You actually don't know anything. You're dumber than a box of rocks if you stay here. But most people, they are afraid of jumping off this cliff, essentially, is what you have to do. And this is what a lot of people call the ego death, which is the realization that you don't actually know anything, and the paradigms that you are operating on are actually invalid, and aren't really how things work. And so it's a really weird concept. You think that you know everything, but you actually don't. And so what happens is, and it's like, why the fuck would anybody do this? But this is how you get to mastery. This is how you become actually good at things. And so if you can be this person that's willing to, become stupid, essentially, or to realize that you don't know anything. You're stupid anyways. Here's the thing: you're stupid already. But if you're cool with that and you acknowledge that, then what's cool is you get to go through this whole learning process. And if you can just not give a fuck about what other people think of you, because if anybody really gives a shit about you and has an opinion on you, they probably actually don't really matter that much. Like, if somebody is sitting there thinking all day about, oh my gosh, what a loser Devin is, or whoever, then that person is actually a loser. That people see things that are as a mirror image of themselves. And so if people think that you're stupid, they actually just think that they themselves is stupid. So yeah. Anyways, so what happens is you then, as you start to get more competence, and as you actually start to get good at things, then your confidence level starts to rise. And it's this weird paradigm, like, as you start to become more better at something. It's kind of even weird for me to say that I'm so great at YouTube, because I know, like, I still have such a huge gap. Even though I've gotten like over 1 billion views on long form videos on YouTube, I still feel like I don't know everything. I don't know that much. I know that there's, like, so much more that I can learn. And there's still, like, a slight insecurity in a way that I don't know everything, because in how it works is, every time that you start learning something, you kind of go through this cycle here, essentially, where you're at this super high stoked phase where you think you're capable of anything, you realize that you don't know anything, and then you kind of go back through this cycle, and it keeps going over and over and over again, until you kind of reach this point where you're just like, yeah, actually, I don't know anything. I don't know anything that I'm talking about. I don't really care to know everything, as in, like, I don't care to pretend that I know everything, and I have just ridiculous amount of humility, and I want to keep learning. And this is how you see see successful people. They view this Dunning-Kruger effect as a cycle, and the sooner that they can just detach from the paradigm entirely and they just don't give a fuck anymore and they just instead focus on this part right here, they start to there's somebody that can just become mega successful because they're so detached from everything. And so let's jump into what is known as the go back over to this page right here if we can grab it back over to the 4 levels of mastery. And so once you understand this, you're going to be able to become successful so much faster and life is going to be 10 times easier. So level 1 of mastery starts off as follows. You are what is known as unconsciously, I know I didn't spell it all the way out, but unconsciously incompetent. And so this is the phase when you're in unconscious incompetence. This is the phase where you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you're lacking of information that's actually going to make you like so much more successful in life. And this is the scariest paradigm. It is literally costing you $10 million every single month that you don't know how to make $10 million a month. This is what haunts me at night. When you're asking Devin what you have at nightmares of every single night and what are you thinking of, it's this. It's knowing that knowing that I don't know a lot of things that could have made my life significantly easier. And this like not scares me, but it definitely haunts me. It's like this, like what do I not know? And this is why I seek so much information. Is the realization that I don't really know that much. And for a lot of people, this is scary. This is hard to face because you feel like you need to know everything or else you're going to get banned from the social circle and from society and you're not good enough and you're not going to fit in anywhere and people are going to outcast you, when in reality they're probably going to outcast you and you're going to be a fucking loser anyways. And I'm just kidding. But what you realize is that actually no one gives a fuck about you and instead everybody's kind of consumed in their own minds. And if they do have some weird opinion about you, it's actually just more so an indicator of who they are and not who you are as a person. So kind of fun life fact there. And so what you have to realize is you need to get to this phase ASAP. And this is kind of where you go from information learning. And this is the stage where it is kind of good to go doom scroll on social media or on YouTube and watch my YouTube videos and watch every single video that I've ever made and spend your entire life watching all of my videos and spend countless amounts of days falling asleep to my videos and listening to them and watching them multiple times over and over and over again and subscribing and telling all your friends about my videos. But not just that. This is where the information gathering comes, is where you start to become consciously competent. Okay? And so you start to, consciously, I was getting excited there. Consciously incompetent. You realize that you don't know jack shit. Okay. So you start to be actually conscious that you don't know what's going on. And this is the scary part for people. People then start to decide, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to become delusional and just not know anything. And I'm not going to try to know anything. It's just easier for the ego that way. And so a lot of people get stuck in this cycle where it's scary to realize that you suck at things, and so they'd rather just keep sucking at things. And they're like, oh yeah, I just was never supposed to get rich. Like I am supposed to work a job my entire life. This is where you start to see beliefs take over. And if you ever watch my limiting beliefs video on this channel that went viral and got like 90,000 views or whatever, that video I talk about limiting beliefs and how I remove my limiting beliefs. But this is where a lot of people start to develop limiting beliefs, is because it's easier to tell themselves lies than it is to actually face the truth. It's disgusting. It's fucking stupid. But that's how people operate. That's the way that people's brains works. It's easier to think that you weren't meant for these things than to actually face the things that you're supposed to do and actually go do the work. Crazy, right? And so then what happens is you get to this third phase, which you have to choose this. This is a decision you actively have to make. This is the part where you have to actually decide. You have to do the work. You have to take action. And so this is where you become consciously competent. Okay. Again, I got excited earlier. So you go from a stage of conscious incompetence to a stage of conscious incompetence to a stage of conscious competence. So where you're competent at the thing. And if you're kind of dumb like me, you don't know what competent means, it's okay. You're not alone. It just means like how good you are at the thing, or like how capable you are. How like are you the person that is able to you have the knowledge, and not just the knowledge, but the insights and the wisdom to execute on the thing. And so for a long time, you have to actually try to become good. And it's a hard phase because at this phase, what happens is you're going to be comparing yourself to the next phase that I'm going to talk about here, and I'll just start writing it out so I can kind of describe it better. Which is you get to the point where you become unconsciously competent. So what happens when you get to this like when you get to these two phases right here of consciously incompetent and conscious competence is you're going to start seeing all these people. They're usually the way that you discover it is you find this person who's unconsciously competent. So you're finding someone who's like not really fucking trying at all, and they're just making shit tons of money. Like you're just or like they're just mega successful. It's like watching the world's best soccer player, like watching Messi play soccer, and you're just like, holy shit, I suck at soccer. I'm not good. It's like seeing somebody that is mega successful and realizing there's a gap there, realizing that you don't know what you think you know. And, again, most people choose this like to have these limiting beliefs. But if you're somebody that gets past that, which you are, if you're somebody that subscribes to this channel, you're going to be someone that's a millionaire, mega successful, rich and handsome like me, by subscribing to this channel and watching all my videos is you're going to realize that there's a huge gap. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And this is where the 10,000 hours comes into play. It's like the Bruce Lee quote where he says, "I'm not afraid of the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once. I'm afraid of the man who's practiced 10,000 one kick 10,000 times." And so you need to this is where the work comes in. This is where you have to do a lot of work. When it comes to YouTube, I've hired over like whatever 200-300 freelancers for my YouTube channels. I've made thousands of videos. I've come up with like tens of thousands of video ideas, maybe even more. And then I've just seen a lot of data. I've seen a lot of data points. I've pattern recognized for the last like 7 years on YouTube. I talk YouTube like every day of the year, 365 days for the past like whatever 7 years. And so it's that time thing. It's just the data point collection and consciously trying to get good. You have to like actively want it. You have to then what happens is you have to start building habits of success, and you start to become habitually successful. And it starts to get to the point where when you start to become habitually successful, or like habitually getting good at things and learning skill sets and competent, then what happens is you then start to unconsciously be good at these things because it's just the programming that you operate on, rather than you actually thinking about how good you got to get at things. And so once you kind of understand this, then you're able to just easily be successful. And so the question is, which we kind of started off with this at the beginning of this video, it's right here. I'm trying to do a paper cut while I flip the page over. Which is, how fast are you going to fail if you knew you had to fail 50 times? If you knew you had to put in however many reps, you had to put, let's say, 1,000 hours into this. How fast are you going to put 1,000 hours into this? Are you going to do it over the span of a decade, or are you going to try to put the 1,000 hours into something over the next like 2-3 months? Which I think that should be 1,000 hours, because 24 times 30 is 600. I mean, let's say you only have 400 hours a month. So you do that for whatever, 2 months, 3 months, you're going to be start to become pretty masterful at things, at least some of the nuanced things when it comes to any sort of skill set. If you like put 1,000 hours into anything, you're going to start to get really good. You put 10,000 hours into something, and you're going to be, top 0.1% of level of a thing, and then you can just keep getting better and better from there and just become insanely masterful. And then that's where you see these people are mega successful, is because they put like 100,000 hours into something. And so the faster that you fail, the faster that you will succeed. This is the main thing to remember at the end of this video. If you want to have massive amounts of success, then you need to go fail and fuck up as much as possible. But the issue is, why most people don't just do that is because failing sucks. People have a negative belief and a negative mindset around failure. They think failure is a bad thing. But if you can just rewire your brain to think that like a Pavlov's dog, where it gets a treat every time it pushes the button. If you can just view yourself as that dog that gets a treat every time it pushes the button, aka every time you fail, then you're gonna love failure. So if you can find a rewarding system for failure, and that's the issue in our culture today, is that we don't reward failure. We reward success, which is weird because you have to fail to be successful. So that's why they started giving everybody a trophy. And when they started giving everybody a trophy, then that's because people couldn't handle failure. That's when it started to get really confusing in life. Is we started to say that failing was a bad thing, but everybody gets a trophy. So what you have to do is you have to rewire your brain. You have to change your brain. You have to change the neurochemical process that happens in your brain around failure. And so what that means is most people they get an achy feeling around failure, and it's easier to go eat cake or whatever, and go scroll social media and just waste a bunch of time and doom scroll because it gives them a bunch of dopamine and the neurochemical response that gets them to feel like they're making progress in life, and it's like they're getting a treat, but instead it's from scrolling on social media. And so what you have to do is you have to get good at rewarding yourself for failing faster. And so what I'll usually do every time I fail is I'll go get myself coffee, or I will go get a smoothie somewhere, or I will go do something to like reward myself for being a dumbass and for making progress in life. Like it's kind of sounds contradictory, but I'm just like, hey, I just know I'm stupid at this point, like in the sense of like that I don't know everything, and I'm cool with that. Even though I've probably made more money than most people all most people in the world by a large amount, but even then, I still feel like I know nothing, even though I've read probably more books than the average person. I've done a lot more things than the average person, and I still feel stupid. But it's a choice because I know that the more I allow myself to feel dumb and like I don't really know everything, the less of an ego I have. And the less of an ego I have, the more action I take. The more that I actually end up learning. The more like there's times when I will be on a conversation with somebody who probably doesn't know like had as much experience is maybe a good way of putting it. Definitely has not had as much experience or had as much success as I have in a certain domain. Um, but I'll still pretend like I don't know everything. And because of it's not that I'm pretending. I realize that I don't know everything, and I will ask the most basic questions sometimes, and it's a little startling to people sometimes. They're like, "Devin, you're so successful. Why are you asking me this question?" I could tell that they don't actually say that, but I could tell that thought process goes through. They're like, "Aren't you the expert on this field or of this topic? Why are you asking me this?" And I do it more so to come like to get an understanding of like where are they coming from? What are they trying to do? Like is what is the outcome that they're trying to accomplish, and what are the mechanisms that they're using to try to accomplish that outcome. And then I will realize that either sometimes I will find people that are like I'm like, wow, this person knows way more than I do, or they have a different mechanism to solving the same problem that I've solved many times. And what you'll start to realize is that there's hundreds of ways to solve the same problems, but there's different tools and there's different mechanisms that work at different times. And the way that you realize that is then what happens is when you look at this graph and that you realize that the more you fail, like the more failure that you have, the more data points you have, the more successful you can become. Is that you don't always have to be the person that's always failing. You can actually use other people's failures. You can learn from other people's failures and use that for your own success to become successful yourself. And so, if as soon as you start doing that, then you get to really hijack this curve. And so you have to be intentional with it though. You have to have a use case. You have to have an application. You have to have a way for your brain to actually store the information and the data, or else it's just not really going to care. And so either you have to have a good amount of experience to know what somebody's talking about to get the information, or you just have to go kind of do it yourself and then go kind of learn yourself, like learn through experience. But what I will say is you don't ever want to reinvent the wheel. It's just like society and humans have made so much progress over the past like couple centuries that the biggest way that you can like screw yourself over is to try to be unique and original. And the sooner that you can have that ego death of realizing that nothing's unique or nothing's original in this world, the sooner that you can have success too. You see, a lot of people that I talk to, they think that in order to make 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, $100,000 a month, they have to do something unique and original. But to tell you the truth, you actually don't. You don't have to do anything unique and original. And if anything, I actually encourage you to just follow what's already proven. You see, if someone's already making $10,000 a month on a YouTube channel, the worst thing that you could do is try to not do what they're doing and try to go do something different. And so, usually, what I'll recommend people to do is to go copy the person. Now, I know this sounds counterintuitive. You're like, what the heck? Go copy somebody and to become successful. But the thing is there's so much nuance. There's so much nuance in things. And it's not only until you reverse engineer something and like actually reconstruct it yourself that you start to realize why something is so successful. And you start to have an appreciation for the way that somebody does things only when you start to actually reconstruct somebody else's strategy or somebody else's method. It's like you watch a grandmaster play chess. If you try to just pretend to be like that grandmaster and act like that person when they're playing, if you're able to actually do it in all the nuance that they are able to do it, then you yourself are a grandmaster at chess. And so it's like the better that you can start to understand what is it, the way that they think and the way that they operate, and understanding the paradigms and the mental models that they function on, that then you can go and replicate that yourself. And so if you find a YouTube channel and it's making $10,000, $20,000 a month, the best thing you can do is not just download and re-upload the videos. That's lazy. That's robbing yourself of experience points. But instead, if you use it as the blueprint, like if you pretend like that YouTube channel hired you to make their next video or to come up with their next video idea or to hire a person for a specific role, then it's gonna be pretty you're able to make a better decision. You're able to be more effective at the method. You're able to do something that most people aren't able to do because you're operating on the paradigm that's already successful. If you're operating on your own paradigm, you have your own beliefs, you have your own mindset, and you have your own ways of doing things. And obviously right now the way that you're doing things is not successful unless you are making $100,000 a month right now. You do actually don't have the right belief systems and you don't aren't doing the right things and aren't doing the right habits to get that result. Otherwise, you would be making that much money. As you know, everything's not financial, but it's a good metric for self help and improvement and success. And so, if you're not making 100 grand a month, it's because you're not a $100,000 a month person. So, what you have to do is you have to find other businesses, other people that are at that place that you want to be at, and just do what they're doing. Essentially, make decisions the way that they're making decisions. And what's going to happen is you're going to be really bad at it at first, and it you start to realize, whoa, this is where the work comes in. This is why they're so successful, is because they put so many hours into these weird things that, you're like, really, they put this many hours into this one thing, like talking to script writers off of Upwork for hundreds and hundreds of times. You see, a lot of the people that complain that, like, let's say a freelancing website like Upwork doesn't work is because they've talked to like two freelancers and it just straight up didn't work. And it's easier to believe that it's not an actual valid way of finding good people. And to tell you the truth, I've hired over 100 script writers, 100 video editors, over 100, probably like over 50 voice actors off of Upwork, and another 100 graphic designers off of Upwork. And I will tell you that there are some of the best people that you could hire off of that website. And that's because I've done hundreds of reps, not just one or two. Like what most people say is why that it's not a good platform to hire these people from these places. It's the same with any sort of business model that you see online. It's easier for people to say that YouTube is not a valid way to make money because it's easier that way. It's more convenient. It's less hurtful for the ego. It's easier to say that you can't have success doing something than it is for people to actually do the work to become successful. So that's why you see a lot of people that are saying that things don't work is because it's easier to do it that way. And so the other thing that's like kind of this gap here is the time to action. So the sooner that you can take action, the sooner that you can make decisions, and the sooner that you can move forward on things, the sooner that this time clock is moving, and the sooner that you will have success. The thing is like if you can consolidate, let's say 10 years of failure down to 6 months, you'll probably not consolidate exactly 10 years of failure into 6 months. Maybe you can if you're really mediocre standards, but if you can try to consolidate it into 3 months, into 6 months, you're going to make so much more progress, and you'll probably be way further, if not at the goal that you wanted to in 10 years, in 6 months, if you just sit down, lock down, lock in, and just put your nose to the grindstone for the next like 2 months, 3 months. Your life will change forever. That's what I did. Like I literally had nothing going for me. I was in college going to school for computer science, and I was supposed to have a programming job for the rest of my life, and I decided I didn't want that. Decided I'd rather drop out of college, go full on with YouTube, and I was going to make more money that way. And in fact, after like 3 months, I was making 3 grand a month with it. It wasn't life changing money, but it was financial freedom. I was doing it 100% off of YouTube. Like I was generating the money myself. I didn't have to go clock in anywhere. It paid for all my bills, and I was set. And then I did it for another like 8 months or so, and I hit $40,000 in a single month. And this was after I dropped out of college, and I just kept uploading, and I developed the skill sets, and I gave myself the opportunity. I was willing to sit there for 16 hours a day, just staring at my computer screen, just like slamming my head against the wall, just failing, just eating shit for however long period of time. And then eventually you hit this hockey stick curve, you hit this breakthrough point, you break down a wall finally, and everything works in your favor. And the success eventually kind of just breaks through. It has to break through at that point. You've just put so many hours into this thing that eventually you figure out what's the nuanced thing that's going to allow for success that's been holding you back this entire time, and you unlock that. And it's just only through when you just kind of sit there and just you're comfortable with just eating shit for a long period of time that eventually it just breaks because you finally, and usually what breaks isn't that you like gain any sort of insider wisdom that was like revolutionary. It's that you quit being a fucking idiot and you actually like did the work and you actually opened yourself up and had the humility to actually fucking listen and do what people are telling you to do that's out there. I'll tell you like straight up, I have the same access to resources you guys have. I have the same YouTube videos. I have the same Twitter access. I don't have special access on Twitter. I don't have special access to YouTube. But when I watch a video or when I use those platforms, I don't pay anything more than you guys, but I learn how to make hundreds of millions of dollars out of these platforms while you guys are sitting there picking your nose and just watching some hot TikTok girl or something like that, or some girl sleep with 100 men for like an OnlyFans stunt or whatever. And that's the loser mentality. That's what the 99% does. I have access to the same services as you guys do. I don't. There's no like private wall, like secret room, like thing that I have that's made me all this money. I've just had intention. I just watched the videos that served towards my goals and I took action on them. When I watched Alex Hormozy talk about something, I did something about it. He said make an offer, so I made an offer. He said make an irresistible offer, so I made an irresistible offer. I've watched some of Alex Hormozy's videos 5, 10, 20 times just to implement and try to get every ounce out of what he was saying to actually apply it to my life and my business. And same with whatever, like probably 100 other YouTubers and videos that I've watched out there. Honestly, a lot of what I watch is like Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and a lot of these older guys that have been around for a while. Ed Milet's another good one that I've been watching. But I watch these guys over and over and over again to get every ounce out of what they have. And like I said, there's no sort of private paywall thing that I have access to that you guys don't. I watch the information and I apply it and I fail faster. That's pretty much that's it. That's the formula. And everybody wants some sort of secret sexy formula. They want this thing that's gonna just like I don't know, like that's gonna tickle their is going to tickle their pickle and make their life better or something. It's going to make them feel some sort of special way, and they're going to get some sort of dopamine that they're missing out on. There is nothing more that you guys are missing out on. There's just action. There's just execution. There's just taking the information that you have and running with it. And then what you're going to realize is that you don't know everything. Cool. So, but you want to find the information on the gap specifically that you realize that you have. So whatever that gap is, you want to run with it. You want to take action with it. You want to close that gap as fast as humanly possible so that way you can move on to the next gap, so that way you can reset the Dunning-Kruger effect, so that way you can open up a new loop and go learn a new thing. And the thing about mastery is it's never ending. You never end the cycle, because somebody that is trying to become mega successful, they're going to realize there's all these different levels of success that they want to have in all of these different fields. You want to have success in business, you want to have success in health, you want to have success in relationships, and you want to have success in happiness and enjoying your life. And so the people that are really successful is they realize that there never is this peak perfection of success. There's just only constant improvement. And that's why most of these people are wanting to live to like 200 years old, is because they realize that there's a never ending supply of learning. There's a never ending supply of becoming better. There's a never ending supply of becoming masterful in life, and life getting better. Like there's so much more for life to keep getting better, and that's what these people realize. They say the dumbest person in the room always thinks they're the smartest person in the room, but the smartest person in the room thinks they're the dumbest person in the room. It's such a weird paradigm. And so as soon as you can realize that, as soon as you can start operating on the sense of like, wow, I don't really know everything, that's your road to learning more, to becoming smarter, to becoming more successful. The smartest person, whenever you think of somebody that's really smart, you think of somebody that's reading lots of books. You think of somebody that's researching lots of things. You think of somebody that's at a university. You think of somebody that's like talking to the smartest people in the world all the time. You notice how each of those is an intake? It's not something that's just like a quality that is had. It's something that is a constant progression. It is a moving towards something. It is a moving towards getting more knowledge. There's never like this peak state of not having of having perfect information, because as soon as you stop learning, as soon as you stop growing, um your growth stops and actually you start receding. You start losing some of the information, because what you don't use, you lose. And so what you have to start doing is any bit of information that you have, you need to take action on it. So every time I read a book, every time I watch a podcast, every time I have something that inspires me or some sort of conversation that was inspiring, I share it. I tell it to my girlfriend, I tell it to a friend, I tell it to my students. I share it to people. So like anytime I make progress in my business, I go teach somebody else about something that I learned. So that way I can retain it. So that way I can master it. And so that way it's something that just starts to become a part of my DNA and of who I am. Like everything inside of this video are things that I've learned and that I am teaching you guys because I want to retain this information and I want to get better at articulating the information. It's something I want to become more successful at, is articulating the information. That's what this YouTube channel is all about, to tell you the truth, is not so I can just make millions of dollars just overnight, which it probably will be my most successful asset, to tell you the truth, because if I just keep uploading, it's going to develop my personal brand, and I'll probably make hundreds of millions of dollars off this. Even if I don't make money, cool. It's just the impact and the legacy that I leave. That's more important to me than anything. And a lot of it is I want to become articulate. I want to become a person that is able to communicate things. I want to be able to take ideas that I once struggled with, and I want to be able to share those things in a way that deeply, meaningfully impacts people's lives and changes them. And the way that I do that is by failing. I do that by teaching them to people. I do that by recording myself and then watching the recordings. You know how painful it is to sit there and watch these videos sometimes? And I'm just like, wow, I'm so bad at this. And I know people love my content. Some of the worst videos I have ever made actually are my best videos that I have ever made as well. It's weird. I watch them, I'm like, these are so bad. These are some of the worst videos I made, but people love them. There's something about like some of the ideas I talk about. There's something about like the wording that I had those days, and it was like it challenges my beliefs. It challenges what I think of as good, and it's because it's like I'm not the person that matters. It's the marketplace that matters. And so even though it's something that I think is a poor standard or poor quality, doesn't mean that other people don't think it is. Some people, it's like the most revolutionary thing. They're like, "Wow, this is the most impactful video." So that's why I usually always post it. There's only been a couple times I record a video and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that was so shit." I'm just not going to upload it because I know for a fact that people are going to think like it's not even about people are going to think. There's just no value in this piece of content, and maybe I should just upload it just knowing that it's a shit piece. But I was just like, this is way too. This is too much. But it's just that it's those levels of mastery, and I think it's like you guys commenting on these videos and sharing the deep levels of impact amongst my failures is what gives me the feedback loop to know what's good, what you guys actually love, like what is it in these videos genuinely makes an impact for you that makes you want to keep coming back and back again. It's crazy to me that so many people want to keep watching these videos. When I just simply whip out my iPhone and just start hitting record, and all these people have, like, I have a fancy setup. I have the $10,000 to $20,000 studio setup, and I'll record videos with it. You guys will see some of those soon on the main channel, but there's just nothing that beats the just iPhone video where I just whip out the phone and record. I literally had to get a new phone because my other one, the microphone quit working, and I want to make sure these videos are better for you guys. So the main principle of this video is just you need to fail more. You need to fail faster. If you want to become successful, if you can just speed up the volume of failure, and if you're just willing to eat shit like a lot sooner, and you just don't care, and you can leave your ego at the door. And that's why you see a lot of people that like just grow up with successful parents, or people that grow up around success. They're just so successful so quickly, is because they are cool with failing so fast. They don't care. They don't care what other people think. They're already a freaking weirdo or an outcast usually if they were like homeschooled and grew up with successful parents, because their successful parents won't put them into school, or they'll homeschool them, or they'll only surround themselves, like put their kids into places with other successful kids, and they're kind of weirdos in society in a way. But that's why they become successful themselves, is because they're cool with being a weirdo in society. They don't really have to fit in anywhere, and instead they just focus on failing, and they have a different definition of failure. It's progress. It's not actually failure. Failure is just progress, but with a scary word, F for failure. You ever notice how the word failure has an F, and that's the grading system that we use at school? How it's like this F probably makes people cringe inside in a way because they're just like they want an A, they don't want an F. But if you can just change the paradigm and realize that like letters don't fucking matter, but progress matters and success matters, and how you view yourself when you look yourself in the mirror is what matters the most, not what other people think of you. So that's what I got. Go fail more. Go be a fucking loser because losers are the ones that get rich. Losers are the ones that become successful. Losers are the ones that fail quickly. So that way they can become people that are just insanely unconsciously competent at whatever it is that they do. Isn't that much more fun than being in a prison for the rest of your life, living lives of quiet desperation, thinking that all these people, like caring about what all these people that really don't give a shit about you think of you. Instead, go be somebody that lives a notable life. Go do something cool with your life. Go live freedom. Go have freedom in your life. Go do something. Go live a worthwhile life. That's my thing. See you guys in the next one. Peace.